Good afternoon, everybody on the East. Good morning, everybody out here on the West. Welcome to the first half of a doubleheader day in Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, the drama-free true crime destination. I'm Ernest Bethea, the Last Outlaw. So good to have everybody here. And like I said, this is the first half of a doubleheader day. Why am I saying let's do two? Because the second half is the sixth installment of Ohio versus Richardson, and we're going to recall Lieutenant John Fain to the stand, which is going to be more testimony from him and more interrogation video. But that's in the second half. Today, we're going to wind up the week that was. And I'm going to I'm gonna do a little bit of house cleaning first, starting by me saying thank you to everyone who is joining us. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please again make sure to smash the like buttons to help us out the channel. If you want to join the open panel, the panel is always open. Click the link, copy the link, and paste it into a new browser tab or window. For everybody that does join in the chat, all comments, statements, views, they're all speculation, deduction, theory, or opinion. They're not considered as evidence or fact. Your opinions are welcome. Attacks on other chatters are not. If you don't like an opinion, the three dots are on the right-hand side of that person's name. All you got to do is click on it and click block. The last thing I want to see in the chat is racism, homophobia, or any attacks. Or in fact, I don't even want to even talk on politics or religion unless it has something to do with the case. Please be respectful. That's what I'm all about. All right. Just in case I happen to have video, and I do for certain stories, this is here's your trigger warning. I mean, not the trigger warning, but the copyright disclaimer. This is your trigger warning. I want to protect your mental health, so anything you see that's red here, and it and you can't take it mentally, turn away now. And of course, unless otherwise stated, these articles that are coming will be coming directly from either Court TV or Law and Crime Network. All right, let's get started. All right, first story up. An Idaho mom was killed and her husband was believed to be on the run. And I say was for a reason. Pay attention. An Amber Alert has been issued for a 10-month-old Idaho boy who was taken from his home on Thursday night after his mother was killed. All right, this is the guy they're looking. This is the guy they were looking for. Police are searching for Jeremy Albert Best, whom they wish to speak to in connection with the death of his wife, Callie Jean Randall, and the disappearance of their son, Zeke Gregory Best. Earlier Thursday, the elder Best was seen walking naked through a local general store. On that last Thursday night, the Teton County Sheriff's Office received a 911 call from a resident in Victor, Idaho. Upon arrival, deputies reported finding an unresponsive female identified as a 38-year-old Randall, who was declared deceased. Her death is being investigated as a homicide. Police believe Best took off with his son. And this is the automobile they were looking for. It said that Best was believed to be driving a black 1995 Chevy Tahoe SUV with Idaho license plate 1T39349. 45-year-old Best is suspected of being armed and very dangerous. He is described as being 5 feet 11, 245 pounds. Anyone with information on the location of the suspect, the vehicle, or the child should call 911 immediately. Police urge you not to approach or attempt to confront Best. In a report released by the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office earlier on last Thursday, Best had been detained by police after walking naked through the Swan Valley General Store. Emergency services evaluated Best on site and transported him to Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Facility by ambulance. Best was turned over to hospital staff for further medical and mental health concerns. Now, this is the update to that story. A manhunt has ended in tragedy for the Idaho man wanted for the disappearance of a 10-month-old boy who was taken from his home last Thursday night after his wife had been killed. Bonneville County Dispatch responded to a call from individuals who were hunting on the Koep's Crossing Road east of Idaho Falls who discovered a man in a sleeping bag on the side of the road. The man was 45-year-old Jeremy Albert Best, who was wanted by the Teton County Sheriff's Office concerning the homicide on November 30th, which claimed the life of Best's 38-year-old wife, Callie Jean Randall. After Best was secured and placed in a patrol car, officers located his vehicle in a nearby embankment off the roadway. There, deputies also located the body of his son, 10-month-old Zeke Gregory Best, who was deceased when they found him. After he was medically clear, Best was taken into custody and transported to the Bonneville County Jail, where he'll remain incarcerated until his arraignment as officers continue their investigation. The manhunt began on last Thursday night when the sheriff's office received a 911 call from a resident in Victor, Idaho. Upon arrival at Randall's home, deputies reported finding an unresponsive female identified as the 38-year-old Randall, who was declared deceased. Police believe Best killed his wife, then took off with their son in a black 1995 Chevy Tahoe. He was last seen walking through a local general store earlier that same day. Now, I don't get it sometimes. I don't. It bugs me when okay, I'm gonna say this on two fronts. One, if you and your significant other can't get along, you've fallen out of love with each other, it's either you leave or that significant other leaves. There's no why take that life, number one. Number two, as far as the child goes, if you and your significant other can't get along and you're falling out of love with each other, it makes no sense to use the child as a pawn. And I'm saying this on the child's front and on the relationship front. That whole if I can't have you, no one else can. That's the come on, man. Let's see. What else? Let me go. Get ready and go on to the next article. Because it just doesn't make any sense. The more I hear about stories like this, the less sense it makes. Okay, this one's come courtesy of Court TV. Man charged with murder after couple's suspicious disappearance. Authorities have arrested a man for the murder of a married couple whose disappearance they had described as suspicious last week. All right, this is on your screen here is Karen and Davido Koep, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Hold on, let me fix my. Yeah, that's the way I want to do it. All right. It says the article goes on to say 3 days after asking for the public's help in finding Karen Koep and her husband Davido, the Thurston County Sheriff's Office in Washington State said its detectives have arrested Timothy Burke of Olympia on first-degree murder and kidnapping charges in connection to the case. The office noted that the man in his 40s was known to the couple, but didn't specify exactly how. Though Koep's sister Pauline Dutton told multiple outlets the suspect was one of several tenants in the couple's nearby rental unit. Karen Koep and Davido were presumed missing on November 13th when deputies were asked to perform a welfare check at the couple's residence. Koep, a chiropractor, didn't show up for work. They arrived to find the couple and their car gone, and the circumstances surrounding their disappearance were suspicious, quote unquote. The car was later recovered away from their home. Then, on November 17th, detectives said a suspect had attacked the couple at home, and according to the evidence they have collected, it appears they didn't survive it. Working with our local, state, and federal partners, we have gathered evidence to identify a suspect in their disappearance, as Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders said in a release. Throughout the investigation, we have been in contact with the family of the missing couple, and sadly, we do not believe the couple survived the attack at their residence. Dutton told NBC News that Burke had worked for Davido in lieu of paying rent to live at the couple's rental property. She told the outlet she wasn't aware of any issues the couple were having at the time of their disappearance, but there was always some drama with the tenants. People who knew Koep and Davido, who legally dropped his last name, according to NBC News, gathered for a vigil last Sunday outside of Koep's office. Many of Koep's patients spoke highly of her as their chiropractor and friend. One told King 5, "I'm very upset over this man who thought he could take such wonderful people from us." Family members remember the couple's love and selflessness. And this follow-up is from Court TV, saying the authorities are reasonably certain 2 bodies discovered by hunters in a remote Washington forest are those of a missing well-known chiropractor and her husband. Police have reported the couple missing after finding a disturbing crime scene while conducting a welfare check. When police responded to the home of Karen and Davido Koep on November 13th, they immediately knew they had a crime scene. Based on the evidence found at the scene, the amount of blood that was located, and a number of other things, it was determined that Karen and Davido were both missing, and it was unlikely they survived their attack, Sheriff Derek Sanders had said. That same day, investigators identified a potential suspect in the case, Timothy Burke, who had been renting a property about an hour south of Seattle from the Koeps. 45-year-old Burke had one of the victim's credit cards in his possession and was arrested for ID theft by the Thurston Sheriff's Office, but was later released without sufficient probable cause to keep him. November 17th, an individual spotted remains while riding an ATV in the woods and called police. November 18th, Burke was arrested and charged with first-degree kidnapping and murder of Karen and Davido Koep. Sheriff Sanders said the bodies were found less than half a mile from the Koep's property where Burke had been living. When asked how the bodies got to the area where they were found, the sheriff said while authorities are still investigating, they believe some transportation was involved. Since the crime scene was quite a ways away from where the bodies were discovered and are using drone technology and mapping as evidence. Burke remains in custody at the Thurston County Jail without bail until his arraignment. And I'm hoping and praying that justice is served in that one. I really am, because that's a case that's a disturbing case with a lot of questions that need to be answered. All right, let me pull this next article up. Estranged husband accused of killing mother of 4, and the body was found in a storage unit. This one's out of Florida, ladies and gentlemen. The estranged husband of a woman whose body was found in a storage unit has been charged in her death, according to authorities. This is the young lady in question, 37-year-old Shakeira Yvonne Rucker. Rucker, a mother of 4, was reported missing after her family told the Winter Springs Police Department they last saw her on November 11th. The police department shared on social media. Rucker's family reported that she left home for an unknown destination, possibly with her estranged husband, Corey Hill, police said at the time. A week later, on November 18th, the Orange County Sheriff's Office provided a tragic update saying Rucker's dead body had been found inside an Apopka, Florida storage unit, which had been registered to Hill. Her body had been found after someone complained about a smell coming from inside the unit. Prosecutors said in that statement on last Friday. When deputies opened the unit, they found a woman, later identified as Rucker, dead from apparent gunshot wounds. And here's our defendants. "51-year-old Hill, who is already booked in the Orange County Jail on November 13th for an unrelated shooting incident involving his ex-girlfriend, is now facing an additional charge of second-degree murder with a firearm in Rucker's death. Hill had been charged with 4 counts of attempted murder after allegedly shooting at a former girlfriend and her family on November 12th. Rucker's family set up a GoFundMe page for her 4 children ages 7 to 18. Prosecutors said they plan to seek a first-degree murder indictment in Rucker's homicide, but due to procedural rules, the state is currently limited to a second-degree murder charge before they have the opportunity to present the case to the Orange County grand jury. Until then, Hill is being held without bond at Orange County Jail. Again, just like with the first story I started with. 1, you have 4 children involved, and those 4 children are being used as pawns. They're being used as pawns here. And the moment You do that, it's always going to be chaos. That's the first thing. Second thing, you're already split up. Let it go. You know? You couldn't get along, you fell out of love with each other, let it go. I said earlier, that whole if I can't have you, no one else can, that is so immature. Okay, next up. Stop. We're gonna come up with the next article coming up right now. Okay. We have an update on the Crumbley case. Two updates, in fact. One is a sentencing. The other has to do with the parents of the defendant that was involved in the Michigan school shooting. Let's start with that first. Jennifer Crumbley is asking the court to exclude evidence about harmed birds and an affair. Jennifer Crumbley's attorney has filed a pair of motions with the court regarding evidence in the involuntary manslaughter case against her. The motions pertain to evidence Ethan Crumbley killed and mutilated birds and evidence of a second affair by Jennifer Crumbley. The court had previously said it will hold off on ruling about the admissibility of evidence about the bird's head. In the new motion, Crumbley's attorney says more has been revealed in the discovery about the circumstances surrounding that situation. However, attorney Shannon Smith argues the details would be too prejudicial to her client and that there is no evidence either parent knew about the birds anyway. The second motion seeks to clarify a previous ruling about an affair Jennifer Crumbley had before the Oxford High School shooting. A judge has already ruled that the evidence was inadmissible. Attorney Smith says that during the discovery, she has been presented with evidence that Crumbley had another affair when her son was 6. The motion seeks to clarify if this evidence is also covered by the order to exclude evidence of the other affair. These motions come after the judge was granted James and Jennifer Crumbley separate trials last month over witness conflicts. And hey Blondie, how you doing? Good to have you on. The first thing I was going to ask simply is this: what does an affair have to do with you, the parents, leaving a firearm where your son can get a hold of it and just take it to school like it's nothing and unleash havoc, literally unleashing hell upon his fellow students? What does that have to do with anything? Or, as my first patient as a caregiver would have said, God bless her soul, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Somebody let me know that one. So while they're waiting while they're waiting to figure that evidence out, I have the big update on Ethan Crumbley. Good, wonderful to see you. Thanks for keeping us updated. That's what I do, Blondie. I do my best to keep everybody updated on everything that goes down while I'm still playing flashback with Ohio versus Richardson. Like I said, this is only the first half of a doubleheader. The second half is later today. All right, Ethan Crumbley. Let's wrap him up and put a nice tidy bow on this young man. A judge sentenced a Michigan teenager to life in prison Friday for killing 4 students and terrorizing others at Oxford High School after listening to hours of gripping anguish from parents and wounded survivors. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Ethan Crumbley in all of his, well, I can't even finish that line with a straight face. Judge Kwame Rowe rejected pleas from defense lawyers for a shorter sentence and ensured that Ethan Crumbley, 17 years of age, will not get an opportunity for parole. My actions were what I chose to do. I could not stop myself. I am really a bad person. I've done terrible things. Crumbley, who was 15 when he attacked his school in 2021, said before the sentence was announced. He said he was sorry and pledged to change while behind bars. To which I say, well, you got plenty of time to work on that because you're not getting out. This is a life sentence, meaning life. You're gonna do all of it. No parole, no chance. You're done. Life sentences are rare in Michigan since the U.S. Supreme Court. No, let me go back and read that again. Life sentences for teenagers are rare in Michigan since the U.S. Supreme Court and the state's highest court said the violent acts of minors must be viewed differently than the crimes of adults. But the Oakland County prosecutor said a no parole term fits Crumbley's case. Rowe's decision followed deeply emotional remarks by families of the deceased and survivors who spoke about how the tragedy has affected them. Your statements, Rowe said, do not fall on deaf ears. Crumbley pleaded guilty to 24 charges, including first-degree murder and terrorism. Buck Meyer, the father of Tate Meyer, said, "We are miserable. We miss Tate. Our family has a permanent hole in it that can never be fixed. Ever." Nicole Beausoleil recalled seeing the body of her daughter, Madison Baldwin, at the medical examiner's office, her hand with blue painted fingernails sticking out from a covering. I looked through the glass, she said. My scream should have shattered it. Jill Sove, the mother of Justin Schilling, told the shooter that he executed a boy who could have helped him navigate awkward teenage years. If you were that lonely, that miserable and lost, and you really needed a friend, Justin would have been your friend, if only you had asked. Crumbley looked down as Sauvé and others had spoke. Kylie Osage explained how she had urged Hannah St. Julia 1,000 times to keep breathing while they waited for help on a blood-soaked carpet. Her classmate died. Osage, now a college student, was shot and continues to struggle with daily pain from spinal injuries. Being able to swing a leg over my horse is my therapy. It is pure joy, she said ablaze. I have not been able to do it for 2 years. Defense attorney Paulette Michelle Lofton has argued Crumbley deserves an opportunity for parole after his sick brain asphyxiated through counseling and rehabilitation. This was a scene at Oxford High School Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Hannah St. Juliana's father scoffed at that possibility. There can be no rehabilitation, Steve St. Juliana told the judge. There is absolutely nothing the defendant can do to earn my forgiveness. His age played no part. In a journal, the shooter wrote about his desire to watch students suffer and the likelihood that he would spend his life in prison. He made a video on the eve of the shooting, declaring what he would do the next day. More than 20 people gave victim impact statements by early Friday afternoon. Some wore shirts honoring the fallen students. The judge briefly allowed a framed photo of Tate Meyer to be placed near him. Speakers recalled the day and its aftermath in details large and small. One woman says she's still anxious simply pulling into Major, a big box store where families reunited immediately after the shooting. Linda Watson said her son Aiden, who was shot in the leg, still doesn't go to school for a full day. She recalled the family staying in a hotel because a nail gun being used in her neighborhood sounded like a real gun to him. Aiden will be dealing with this for the rest of his life. This shooter, this monster, should have to feel everything hard and painful for the rest of his life, Watson said. Like their son, Jennifer and James Crumbley are locked up in the county jail. They are awaiting trial on involuntary manslaughter charges, accused of making a gun accessible at home and neglecting the shooter's mental health. Crumbley and his parents met with school staff on the day of the shooting after a teacher noticed violent drawings. But no one checked his backpack for a gun, and he was allowed to stay. The shooting happened in Oxford Township, about 40 miles north of Detroit. Besides the 4 students who were killed, 6 more students and a teacher were wounded. The Oxford School District hired an outside group to conduct an independent investigation. A report released in October said missteps at each level, school board, administrators, staff, contributed to the tragedy. Crumbley's behavior in class, including looking at a shooting video and gun ammunition on his phone, should have identified him as a potential threat of violence, according to that report. Often asked that question. Well, as far as this particular story goes, all I can say is that justice is served. Ethan Crumbley although he's 17 years of age, he will not see the light of day after what he's been convicted of. And now his mother and his father are about to go on trial separately, mind you. They're about to go on trial for involuntary manslaughter, for leaving a weapon accessible to where Ethan could have gotten a hold of it. Let me get closer to you guys so you can get a good look in my eyes. If you're looking for any sympathy in there, bad news. You're not going to find none. I'll keep you updated on the I'll keep you updated on Ethan Crumbley's parents' trials as it comes up. Next on the docket. Okay, we got one hold up. A judge's ruling puts Claud Tex McIver's murder case on hold. The trial for the former attorney convicted of murdering his wife is now on hold after the judge overseeing the case ruled in favor of the defense that the state cannot tell the jury for the second trial that Claud Tex McIver intended to shoot his wife. Here's the defendant in question, the former attorney Claud Tex McIver. On the first day of jury selection, the attorneys met to argue whether prosecutors could tell the jury that McIver intended to kill his wife. Defense attorney Bruce Harvey argued the state should not be allowed to tell a new jury that he shot his wife on purpose because the first jury had already decided that the shooting was not intentional. Legal counsel for the prosecutor's office, Kevin Armstrong, disagreed, arguing, no one suggested he shot her, but didn't intend to kill her. No one did. Judge Robert McBurney reserved the ruling on the matter. Tuesday morning, the third group of jurors was outside the courtroom, prepared to be questioned by the attorneys. Inside the courtroom, the prosecutors were waiting at the table. The pool photographer was setting up for the day, and two writers for law publications were waiting. The prosecutors were asked to meet with the judge in his chambers. After about 10 minutes or so, they went into one of the attorney rooms. McIver's attorney, Don Samuel, went into a separate room to meet with his client. After their short meetings, they all returned to the courtroom. Moments later, Judge McBurney came out of his chamber. The proceedings started as if a conversation was continuing where the attorneys left off when speaking to him in the judge's chambers. The people in the gallery were confused about what was happening. Then Judge McBurney turned to a deputy and asked that he bring the jurors in to give them the bad news and the good news, quote unquote. 17 jurors filed into the courtroom. Judge McBurney had told them he had news. He apologized for having them drive to the courthouse, but told them they were free from the case, but they could be called again for another trial proceeding in a different courtroom. After the jurors were excused, Judge McBurney said he wanted to discuss any other motions in the case because who knows when we'll meet again, possibly next year. He then updated the record regarding the defense's motion in limine intent to kill. He acknowledged that the jury from the first trial handed down a verdict not to convict McIver on count 1, malice murder. The acquittal indicated that the jury did not think that McIver intentionally killed his wife, Diane. Prosecutors told the judge that they planned to appeal the ruling. Judge McBurney said he would have his written order published sometime this afternoon, and from there, the clock will begin. Before the proceedings ended, the defense notified the judge that there needed to be a discussion regarding their pending motion to exclude any testimony that McIver tried to bribe then District Attorney Paul Howard to drop the charges against him. They will argue the matter after the ruling from the Supreme Court. Woo-wee. So what we have here is an issue. They want to get this trial up and going for Claud Tex McIver, but they can't seem to agree on whether certain statements and evidence should be allowed, like McIver intended to kill his wife, or he did it, but he didn't intend to kill his wife. Oh wow, ladies and gentlemen, if and when I get more information, any updates on this particular case, I will be sure to bring it to you. Why am I always saying this? Because that is the reputation of Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. When I get updates, I bring the updates to you. Period. All right. The next story that I'm bringing up right now is one that kind of stunned me a little bit, but this one I should have seen coming. In an interview with Court TV's Vinny Politan, shout out to him closing arguments, the attorney representing the husband of a YouTube creator accused of child abuse revealed new details about the couple's relationship pending divorce. Remember her? That's Ruby Franke. Ruby Franke used to host a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. She would be the one to offer parenting advice, but that channel has since been shut down after getting about a good 2.2 million followers. Anyway, the story in question: Kevin Franke filed for divorce from his wife Ruby Franke in November and a domestic relations injunction. Ruby Franke is known as the star of a since-canceled YouTube channel 8 Passengers and had millions following her tips on lifestyle and parenting. Ruby was arrested in August after her 12-year-old son escaped to a neighbor's home and asked for food and water. Kevin's attorney Randy Kester told Court TV on this past Tuesday evening that the couple had been separated for more than a year and that Kevin had no knowledge of the conditions in which his children were living. Kester told Court TV's Vinny Politan that Jody Hildebrand, whose house the 12-year-old had been inside when he escaped and who has been charged with abuse along with Ruby, had been serving as a marriage counselor for the couple and had pushed Kevin to move out of the house. Kester said that Kevin was forced into isolation in an apartment and was not allowed to communicate with or see his children. Kevin loved his family a great deal and loved his wife a great deal. He did not want to be separated from them, Kester said. He did not want to be apart from them, even to the point of not being able to speak to them. But he was persuaded by Jody, who came as a trusted and upright professional to him. This is Jody Hildebrand, you guys. As in case you don't remember. But my question is simply this: if this was you and your significant other, your spouse, your kids, would you want to trust any advice coming from her? Hildebrand allegedly told Kevin that isolating himself and limiting communication would make his family more wholesome and healthy. His communication was limited to the people he worked with and other men at meetings organized by Hildebrand. Kevin was living by himself in a small apartment, Kester told Politan. Ruby and the children were all living in their quite large home in Springville. His communication with his children was zip. His communication with Ruby was only at her discretion. Politan pressed Kester about why Kevin would have been willing to leave his family in the first place. My first question was, where were you? Kester said of his first meeting with Kevin. And he said, Randy, I was so desperate to get back with my wife and my children. I was willing to take anyone's advice who I thought was a professional and could help me reestablish my relationship and my bond with my kids, and my family, and my wife. And he said, in hindsight, I was brainwashed. Guys, I've been scratching my head since news of Ruby Franke came out initially. I am scratching my head now that the news of Kevin Franke's divorce is out. And that last statement, when Randy Kester asked him, where were you? I was so desperate to get back with my wife and my children, I was willing to take anyone's advice who I thought was professional and could help me reestablish my relationship and my bond with my kids, my wife, and my family. And then he says, in hindsight, I was brainwashed. It's one thing to take advice from someone you see as a professional. I get that. No, I take that back. It's one thing to listen to advice from someone you think is a professional. It's a whole other animal to follow that advice and that advice ends up costing you everything. Why am I saying it like that? Simple. You have your own mind. You have your own mind. Anyone tells you differently that you're not allowed to do A, B, C, D, and E, while T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z is happening. Somebody has got their own agenda and do not have your best interest at heart. And I believe now that's what happened here. We'll just have to wait and see, not only with the Kevin Franke, Ruby Franke divorce update, but the criminal case against both Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrand on these child abuse charges. So sit tight. When I get those updates, so will you. Ooh. Okay, now I've got to pull two of these up because these are actually about the same thing. Let me start with this. Jessy Kurczewski, the defendant who was convicted of murder in what was called the Eye Drops murder trial. She says she cannot be silent. She denies the allegations in a phone call. 2 days before she was scheduled to be sentenced for her friend for killing her friend, Jessy Kurczewski's attorneys filed motions to withdraw from the case. And in a phone call from jail, Jessy says she doesn't know what will happen next. From this point forward, I'm just referring to her as Jessy because trying to pronounce her last name is a royal pain. Jessy was convicted of killing her friend Lynn Herman by poisoning her with eye drops. The jury deliberated for nearly 11 hours before returning the verdict last month. Sentencing was scheduled for Thursday, December 7th, but the hearing is unlikely to continue as planned. On November 30th, Donna Kukler, one of Jessy's attorneys, filed a motion to withdraw from the case. On Monday, Jessy's other attorney, Pablo Galaviz, also filed a motion to withdraw. In a phone call with a court TV producer from jail, Jessy said that the attorneys withdrew because of an alleged letter that prosecutors have accused her of sending from jail. A 37-page letter was written to a friend identified only as Jessica and reportedly contains instructions from Jessy for creating a tape recording that would pretend to be from Herman, and claim that she died by suicide. The letter, obtained by WISN in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin, allegedly details the characteristics of Herman's voice and suggests you could even have a movie or music in the background to help distract. Quote, Jessy said in that phone call from jail, quote, "To be clear, I did not write, send, or have any involvement in these new developments that prosecutors put out yesterday. I did not send anything. I did not ask anyone to do anything, nor did any attorneys say or do anything or were involved in anything either. As far as somebody being Lynn on a tape, that is absurd. As many of us know her voice and would still recognize it. You cannot disguise or try to be someone else." End quote. Jessy said she wanted to make a statement to break her silence as she maintains her innocence. Despite her conviction, I was silenced by a protective order early on, so I could not talk. I chose, after many conversations with my attorneys, to not take the stand, which I extremely regret. My mother was not allowed to take the stand, which was also a huge loss to the defense. I sat in court every day during my trial while everyone talked about Lynn and I. I stayed quiet, which was extremely hard. I planned on finally speaking at my sentencing, but I can no longer wait. It is time I speak. I cannot be silenced. The attorney's motion to withdraw is scheduled to be considered for sentencing on December 7th. Jessy faces a mandatory life sentence for the homicide conviction and an additional 10 years for felony theft convictions. Both of my attorneys are still listed on record, so legally I cannot speak to any other attorney, nor will they speak with me. I sit in limbo. I need to know my legal rights. I need to speak with an attorney. I need counsel. What has happened is wrong. Now, I know I read the first article, but now you'll get to see the second as I read along. What was initially supposed to be a sentencing hearing turned into a dramatic hearing where both of Jessy's attorneys withdrew from her case. Jessy faces a mandatory life sentence after she was found guilty of killing her friend Lynn Hernan with eye drops. She faces an additional 10 years for felony theft convictions. Days before Thursday's scheduled hearing, both attorneys who represented Jessy at trial filed motions to withdraw from the case, signing a letter that the prosecution said it received and turned over to the court in the last week. The letter allegedly contained instructions to create a fraudulent recording appearing to be from Hernan. In a phone call from jail before the hearing, Jessy denied writing or having any involvement with the letter. Judge didn't blah. Yes, it's early, and I'm starting to get tongue-tied. Judge Jennifer DeRoe began the hearing by acknowledging that she was in receipt of the 37-page letter, which was handed over to the sheriff by a woman named Jessica. At the hearing, prosecutors explained that the letter was taken to the sheriff on November 26th by Jessica, who is friends with Jessy. Prosecutors said that Jessica served some time in jail with Jessy and also attended at least one day of the trial to show her support. Excuse me. Again, early. Jessica told investigators that when she arrived home on November 25th, she found a letter waiting for her. While the envelope contained a stamp, it did not have any postmarks on it. Contained in the letter was language that implied that Jessy's attorneys were involved in hatching a plan to create a fake recording. DeRoe read portions of the letter in court. This was one of my attorney's ideas, and clearly they aren't going to tell anyone. We are trying to make a stir, a big stir, just to show how wrong they are. Prosecutor Randolph Sitzberger said in court he doesn't believe that Jessy's attorneys, Donna Kukler and Pablo Galaviz, were involved in any way. I think it's fair to say we don't believe the allegation that this was one of the attorney's ideas. We think that's another red herring or untruth. However, Sitzberger told the court that there was an ongoing investigation into who authored the letter as well as how it was delivered to Jessica. He said that the postmaster confirmed it did not go through the mail and noted while the envelope had a crease as if it had been folded in half. The letter inside was not creased in the same manner. Doro pressed Galavis and Kukler on their reasoning for withdrawing from the case, as prosecutors said that if Jessy denies writing the letter outright, there should be no problem defending her. Galavis said simply, "All I can tell you is that I looked at the filing by the state. I contacted the state bar ethics, and they said to withdraw from the case." Kukler admitted to the court that she recognized her own handwriting on portions of the letter, which was described as being written on the back of trial notes. When finally allowed to speak, Jessy expressed her frustration with the situation and pointed to the prosecution as the problem, questioning why the public had access to the letter. She told Doro that while she wanted her sentencing to be over and behind her, she needed access to new counsel. "I don't think this is right," Jessy told the court. "Everything should be stopped because I need to look at my legal rights." Doro granted the motions for withdrawal, which will prompt the Office of the Public Defender to appoint a new attorney for Jessy. A status hearing has been scheduled for January 12th, 2024. I will say one thing as far as Jessy Kurczewski's rights are concerned. She does have the right to have legal counsel with her, because if she needs to look at her legal rights and go forward, then yeah, I totally understand. Totally. But this whole thing with the 37-page letter and trying to make a whole entire thing about Lynn Herndon not dying by suicide, and this, that, and the third, that needs to be answered with all kinds of clarity. And right now, even though she may have been convicted, I'm not sure if they are able to answer that clearly. Moving on in the docket. Got an update on Donna Adelson. Donna Adelson is seeking either a psychological evaluation or released on house arrest, according to new court documents. Adelson is being held without bond in Leon County Jail on the charges related to the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markle. She filed an emergency motion with the court. In that motion obtained by Court TV, the 73-year-old matriarch detailed the grim conditions she has endured since her November 13th arrest. Adelson stated that she initially had no access to clothing, blankets, or toiletries, and has only had the opportunity to shower once. Because of the charges she faces, first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, she was placed in isolation within a psychiatric unit. Adelson was initially taken into custody at Miami International Airport while trying to board a one-way flight to Vietnam. She was transferred from South Florida to Tallahassee on November 21st to formally face charges. The emergency motion further alleges that during transport, Adelson was denied water and reasonable restroom breaks on the 7-hour journey. Adelson further indicates that in the motion that she has been denied access to her medications and was only permitted to speak to her husband, Harvey Adelson, once on the phone last week. Donna's defense attorneys have been unable to get in touch with her, and according to the motion, she says she is becoming physically weaker on account of inhumane conditions and sitting in her cell naked all day, according to the motion. The prosecution is in agreement with Donna and her defense that she should go an independent psychiatrist evaluation. Exactly a week before her arrest, Donna's son, periodontist Charlie Adelson, was convicted of the exact same charges Donna faces. 41-year-old Markle was a law professor at Florida State University who had been in a bitter custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, when he was killed. 44-year-old Wendy is Donna's daughter and Charlie's sister. 47-year-old Charlie faces sentencing December 12th. A motions hearing in Donna's case will also take place on December 12th, as will Donna's formal arraignment. It just seems there's no end to this case. It seems like it's just this case seems like it's the legalized version of the Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going and going and going and going. And as always, if there's an update, you'll get it here. Next. An inmate is charged with attempted murder in an attack on Kristin Smart's killer. A twice convicted killer has been charged with attempted murder for a prison yard attack on a fellow inmate of the high-profile killing of California college student Kristin Smart, who vanished 27 years ago. A complaint filed November 30th also charged Jason Richard Boudreaux with counts involving crimes by a prisoner and possessing a weapon, as well as enhancements for great bodily injury, according to the Fresno County District Attorney's Office. Prosecutors allege Boudreaux slashed the neck of inmate Paul Flores with a manufactured weapon on August 23rd at the Pleasant Valley State Prison in Coalinga. Flores was hospitalized but returned to the prison 2 days later. Flores was recently transferred to the prison to serve a 25-year-to-life sentence for the murder of Smart, then 19, who disappeared from California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo over Memorial Day weekend in 1996. Flores was arrested in 2021 and convicted in 2022 and sentenced last March. Boudreaux is currently serving life terms for strangling a girlfriend in 2010 in Riverside County and the 2021 strangling of a Mule Creek State Prison cellmate, serial killer Roger Reese Kidd, who was known as the I-5 Strangler in the 70s and 80s. Boudreaux is scheduled for arraignment on January 8th. A telephone message asking if prosecutors knew whether Boudreaux had legal representation was not immediately returned by the district attorney's office. Prison rules do not allow calls into prisoners, and staff do not take messages to inmates. On the one hand, I would say it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, but on the other hand, prison guards need to be more watchful than what they are. Even if they have to double up their forces, double up their coverage. But that's just my thinking. Okay, next on the docket. Authorities with multiple law enforcement agencies searched part of an area in Nelson County Wednesday afternoon in connection to one of three unsolved death investigations in Bardstown, Kentucky. Hardin County Commonwealth's attorney Shane Young confirmed the search with Scripps News Lexington. He's the special prosecutor who's been assigned the death investigations of Crystal Rogers, Tommy Ballard, and Jason Ellis. It's unclear which case the current search is focused on, but WDRB confirmed with Kentucky State Police and the FBI that the search happened on Thompson Hill Road in Nelson County. Crystal Rogers went missing on July 5th, 2015 in Bardstown and was last seen at Brooks' house home, who was her boyfriend at the time. In September 2023, Houck was arrested and charged with murder in connection with her disappearance. Another man, 32-year-old Joseph L. Lawson, was charged with criminal conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. Despite there now being charges in connection with Rogers' disappearance, her body has never been found. 16 months after Rogers vanished, her father, Tommy Ballard, was shot and killed by an unknown gunman while hunting on his own property. In May 2013, Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis was killed in a surprise attack on his way home from work. A decade later, no arrest has been made in connection with his murder. And so still we're looking for results, some kind of an update on that. When I get it, you'll get it. And now an update on Lori Vallow Daybell. 1 week after arriving in Arizona, convicted killer Lori Vallow Daybell appeared in court to be arraigned on charges of conspiracy to commit murder. Lori was sentenced to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole in Idaho for the murders of her 2 youngest children and her husband's first wife. She was extradited to Arizona at the end of November and made her first appearance in Arizona court on November 30th. Lori is facing charges of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in 2 separate charges, though both indictments are strikingly similar. The first indictment, handed down on June 21st, 2021, alleges that Lori conspired with her brother Alex Cox to murder her 4th husband, Charles Vallow, on July 11, 2019. Cox admittedly shot and killed Charles, but told police that he did so in self-defense. Alex Cox died in December 2019 at the age of 51 of what the medical examiner determined to be natural causes. Before he died, Charles had said he was concerned about Lori's mental health. He said that she claimed she was a zombie and that she claimed to be married to a Mormon prophet. Lori was indicted by a second grand jury on February 24, 2022, for the alleged attempted murder of her ex-nephew-in-law, Brandon Boudreaux, on October 2nd, 2019. In that case, Boudreaux, who was married to Lori's niece, returned home from the gym and saw a Jeep parked near his house. Boudreaux said he identified Cox in the Jeep, who then rolled down the window, pointed a gun in his direction and fired. Brandon was not injured and later testified at Lori's trial in Idaho about the incident. Deputies with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office retrieved Lori from Idaho and described her as chatty on the 18-hour drive back to Arizona. Both cases are scheduled to go to trial on April 4th, 2024. Man, just when you thought couldn't get out of the rabbit hole quick enough, that's when you think you're out of one rabbit hole. Lo and behold, you're right in another. Well, I'll be sure to update you on that case. The alleged Delphi killer has been moved to a new jail amid mental and physical suffering. The man accused of killing 2 Delphi teens has been relocated to a new correctional facility southwest of Indianapolis, according to a transfer notice filed by the Indiana Attorney General. Judge Francis Gull granted Richard Allen and his former counsel's request after they filed an emergency order on April 5th to have Allen removed from the Westville Correctional Facility, where he'd been housed since November 3rd, 2022. Allen's former defense team had claimed their client had been suffering mentally and physically from poor conditions at the maximum security prison, including unsuitable living conditions and unfair treatment by guards, some of whom allegedly wore patches linked to white nationalist group known as Odinism. Allen's former defense asserted its motion that Odinists were actually responsible for Libby and Allie's deaths in 2017. Libby and Abby. 51-year-old Allen was removed from Westville Correctional Facility in Wabash Valley Correctional Facility on December 6th, according to the notice. Inmate records indicate Allen remains on long-term segregation, which means he is kept physically separated from the general offender population, typically in a designated unit. His transfer is one of many issues surrounding the former pharmacy tax case, as he fights to have Judge Gull removed and his former attorneys Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rosie reinstated. Both Judge Gull and Attorney General Todd Rokita rejected Allen's petition, calling it improper and inappropriate, and saying that the proper avenue would have been for Allen to appeal, which he didn't do. Judge Gull also doubled down on her claims of gross negligence by Baldwin and Rosie over the leaked confidential case materials. False information provided to the court and extrajudicial statements that Gull said were likely to prejudice the case. Judge Gull had denied a request to remove Allen's trial out of Carroll County earlier this year, but said all jurors for the case would be brought in from Allen County. Allen's trial had been set for January 2024, but was posted until October 15th through the 31st of 2024 to give Allen's newly court-appointed public defenders, Robert Scremin and William Lebrano, time to prepare his case. So basically, we're at a standstill. Sure, we got Richard Allen moved from one correctional facility to another, but still, This case is at a standstill. Okay, got through Jessy. And finally on the docket, this one just came in last night. Tracy Farrader's attorney withdraws, citing irreconcilable differences. Now, where have I heard something like that before? Citing an irreconcilable difference, the attorney for the wife of the Jupiter father, who kept his adopted son in a box-like structure in their garage, asked a Palm Beach County Circuit judge to be removed from the case. 47-year-old Tracy Farrader was not in the courtroom during Friday morning's hearing. Yeah. Here are the Farraders, y'all. I can save my insults for another time. Defense attorney Jennifer Marshall initially filed a motion asking to withdraw as the attorney of record for Farrader because she had accepted a position with a state agency. However, she told Judge Howard Coates after filing an amended motion to withdraw that circumstances have arisen that have caused an irreconcilable difference between my client and I. Although Farrader's financial means were expected to be a topic of discussion during the hearing, a motion to declare the defendant indignant for court costs was withdrawn. Coates granted Marshall's motion to withdraw based on the fact that there's a conflict that's been represented to the court, but he also denied a motion to continue the case until Farrader retained a new attorney. Coates said Farrader's new attorney should be prepared to address the court as he intends to move forward with a January trial date. Given the fact that any attorney taking this case is going to be taking it with the knowledge that it's already currently set for trial, I'm going to want to inquire very significantly as to if they take the case, they know they can't go in early January. Why they took the case, he said. Farrader is the wife of Tim Farrader, who was convicted last month on charges of child abuse, child neglect, and false imprisonment. She faces the same charges in a separate trial. Prosecutors in October convinced a Palm Beach County jury at Tim Farrader's trial that he treated his 14-year-old adopted son like a prisoner in their Jupiter home, forcing the boy to sleep in an 8x8 windowless room in a garage with nothing but a mattress, a desk, and a bucket in which to defecate. The only time he was allowed out was to go to school. Coates sentenced Tim Farrader to 5 years in prison, which was less than what the state had sought, but more than his attorneys had requested. Defense attorneys unsuccessfully sought to have Tim Farrader released from jail while he awaited sentencing, but Coates denied that request. They're currently asking Tim Farrader to be released from jail pending an appeal of his conviction and prison sentence. Tracy Farrader was in court throughout her husband's trial, often sitting in the row directly behind the defense table. Coates set a status check for December 15th, the same day Tim Farrader's attorneys will seek to convince the judge that their client should be released on bond, attending an appeal. Okay, let me try this again. And yes, I have literally just woke up. It is now 10:25 my time, and I'm doing the best I can with this. Please bear with me. They're currently asking that Tim Ferritter be released from jail pending an appeal of his conviction and prison sentence. Tracy Ferritter was in court throughout her husband's trial, often sitting in the row directly behind the defense table. Coates set a status check for December 15th, the same day that Tim Ferritter's attorneys will seek to convince the judge that their client should be released on bond pending an appeal of his conviction and prison sentence. He'll likely hear from defense attorney Priya Murad and appellate attorney William R. Parnell on a fabricated job offer from Mazda of Palm Beach that was originally submitted to the court in a motion requesting Tim Ferritter's release. That motion was modified after it was revealed that no such offer existed. Murad told Court TV that she was unaware that the job offer had been fabricated. Oh my gosh. I'm stunned. I am I shouldn't be, but I am. He wants to be released on appeal pending an appeal. But he also wanted to be released at one point for a quote-unquote job offer. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. Oh, wait a minute. I know what happened. I know exactly what happened. Tim Ferritter is reaping exactly what he has sown. And he don't like it. Tim is in a box of his own. And he's sentenced to 5 years in that box. He's in that box with people telling him what to do. And he can't stand it. And Tracy is going to be running up there next. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take a beat. I'm going to chill for a little while. But I'm going to come back later today. The ticker you see above you that's in blue, it will be back red. It'll be set for Ohio versus Richardson Part 6. Part 6 will, like I said at the top, will contain more interrogation footage of Brooks Schuyler Richardson and Lieutenant John Fain will be back on the witness stand. So be ready for that one, because that's gonna be pretty good wild testimony. But for right now, I want to thank you all for joining me. Oh, Elizabeth Ross. Please, I do hope you'll be here for this. I got it. I'm set for 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Part 6. If you missed the first 5 parts, I suggest you go through them now, because this is gonna be, let's just say, the last couple of cross examinations that I was able to watch. I did not see that I was unable to see the fact that a couple of experts were just straight up grilled, straight up roasted. listening and studying. Sneaky I am. I hope you're doing this. I hope you'll be the same way later today. Sneaky. All right. Once again, it's Bethea'S Byte Reloaded Throwback. Ohio versus Richardson. 6th installment. 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern. Until then, I thank you all so much for joining me. I'm still, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a little bit of extra rest. And if I didn't come off as good as I wanted to, I promise I'll do better next time. Please be sure to follow me all over social media, on Facebook, X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Email me. I'll be sure to put my best foot forward. All right. Until later today, this is Ernest Bethea, the Last Outlaw. This is Bethea'S Byte, the drama-free true crime destination. I will see you later. Until then, bite this. Hey guys, this is the Last Outlaw saying thank you to all of you who watched this video and subscribe to Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, your drama-free true crime destination. I couldn't dream of doing this without you, so thank you. Did you enjoy this presentation? Are you looking to get more information on everything presented here? Are you looking to give more feedback on this presentation? Here's what you can do. Like this video. The more eyes on this video, the more this information is spread to others, which brings us a step closer to justice served. Share this video to your social media. Just like dropping a like, the more eyes on this video, the closer we get to justice served. Drop me a comment, whether it's on the topic or the presentation. I am open to all comments, whether it's a theory, a speculation, or a suggestion. I will respond to all. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button to show your support of this little true crime engine powered by you. Set the notification bell to all for future videos. Be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media. At Bethea'S Byte Reloaded True Crime on Facebook. At EKB316 on X, formerly known as Twitter. At Bethea'S Byte Reloaded on YouTube. At EKB316 on Instagram. At King of Hearts 316 2021 on TikTok. You can drop me an email as well. The address is kingofhearts316_09 at outlook.com. This is your home for news without the drama, where your opinions matter, for lively debates, where your voice is heard, and above all else, justice served. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.